Hello there, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We have a lot of familiar faces in the waiting room. I saw some new faces. Let us know in the comments here where you are dialing in from. Also, feel free to constantly ask questions in there as well. We've got a team looking at those. We can answer those. We're going to have a special section at the end for those questions, but maybe we take some on the way as well. So looking forward to that. Nicolas, you're joining me here. Where are you joining from today?
So, as you can hear with my accent, I'm French, but I'm not in France. I am in Germany. I live here since a few years, and but actually, I lived all over the world. I studied in the US. I worked in Luxembourg and also in Singapore. So I'm happy
Wow.
to have everybody from all over the world.
Oh, well, we are so happy to have you here with us. As everybody will know, we're talking about ChatGPT for FP&A. We have our expert here who will be walking us through that. That's Nicolas Boucher. He's a seasoned finance professional, over 15 years of experience. He currently runs the AI Finance Club, which has trained over 5,000 finance professionals so far. He's a recognized expert in empowering finance teams to improve their effectiveness and efficiency through the use of AI and large language models. And now we get to leverage his knowledge here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I'm Kurt Kapeloff, the Director of Strategic Finance here at Drivetrain. In my previous life, I was a financial modeler, M&A model, IPO modeling, almost exclusively in Excel. Now here with Drivetrain, a tool that's meant to help automate and keep the flexibility of a lot of the things that we see in Excel. I have the privilege of interviewing Nicolas on his interesting work and his insights. Before we jump into it, quick poll for you guys. 2 questions as usual if you've done this before. We like to know which AI tools are you using? What are you leveraging for your AI tools for? We're interested in getting a bit of feedback here. Helps direct the discussion a little bit. And then also at the end of this, we have some unique takeaways and maybe some downloads for you guys that we can take a look at. So answer those questions. Pretty interesting stuff. But without further ado, Nicola, I'd love to hand over to you. We've got a lot to get through today. I'm just going to put it right in your court. Where are we starting?
So we wanted to start first with automations to really show how we are going to change the way we work, because a lot of time people come to me and they don't want to use AI for fancy crazy stuff. They are just telling me, how can I automate my work? Like, I don't want to do all of this work in Excel where everywhere I have to do copy and paste, I have to click a lot of buttons. I spend 2-3 hours until I get data ready for analysis. So before you do functional analysis, a lot of people spend time managing this data. So how can you use AI for this? And what is really important is that AI is always generating something. And it's always as you could try, if you ask AI something, it never comes back with the same answer. But when you do your monthly data cleaning, you always have the same process. So you cannot really let AI do something different every month and that your data looks different. So how can you still use AI to automate? Well, we are actually going to ask AI to help us to create the automation. And let me show you an example for this. So imagine, and I will start with something simple. Imagine here, I am in FP&A and I need to analyze all of our POs because we have a lot of purchase orders. And the way they are organized, they are in a lot of different tabs. If you can see the bottom, there are 30 tabs showing the different purchase orders. But if I want to do a pivot table, and I will just pause on this here. If I want to do a pivot table to analyze the purchase orders, I want to have all of these purchase orders in one tab. So how do I do that? Well, I will go into ChatGPT and I'm going to explain what I want and say, I am in Excel and I want to consolidate all the tabs I have in one tab. And I say the headers are the same. What is the best way to do this quickly with Power Query? So Power Query, for those who don't know, is something to automate with Excel, but is not that intuitive if you never use it. But let me show you how and myself, I almost never use it. So I'm also not like a guru on this, but let me show you how you can use it thanks to AI. So here, basically AI is telling me how to use it. But on top of this, because a Power Query, you can click everywhere and it will take you a lot of time to configure it Power Query. But you can also get the Power Query code. You could see like there was some code, and here you get the explanation about the code. So now I got the code, and I'm going to try the code. So let's go back to the code. And I'm going to copy the code, but the code tells me that I need to have different types of sheets. And that's something where I need to understand how my data works. So I'm going to ask something else. And I always show it like this, where basically it's never the first answer that works. So you need to understand it quickly. And now I'll again say that I don't want to use name range because it wants me to use name range. So I did that like in 5 minutes. And after 2 iterations, I got the code that we are going to copy now. So now let's get the code. So I'm going to copy the code. And I'm just going to click in get data. And then here there is a place like blank query where I can paste the code. So let's copy the code now. And I paste the code. And when I change the name of the file, because you need to show where is your file, and we will play now the code in the bottom right. You can see that now I have actually a table with all of my information, and I'm going to close and load this information. And now all of the tabs are summarized together. And imagine if you have
So then,
to...
I was going to say, so rather than making ChatGPT do it for you, you're asking it how you can do it for yourself by
Exactly,
using
because
Power
now
Query.
every time I have the same type of files, it's done. I just need to change the name of the file. I just need to say, oh, now do it for this file. So I could, because the automation is made that is not specific to a file, I have created a tool which will automate the consolidation of all of the tabs. And it's not made for this file. It's made for every file which has the same headers and tabs everywhere. And this is like really important to see. Like I accelerated a bit, like it took me maybe like 6 minutes to do it, and you saw a video of 2 minutes. But I'm not a Power Query guru. I did like just 2-3 iterations to get the perfect code, which now I never go back to AI to consolidate something. I always use this query. And this was a easy case because you could, like, it's just consolidating tables, so happening one under each other. Now I'm going to show you something even harder. And this was a bit harder also for me to build, where we have a file which is much more complicated. So now I don't have like one tab per, so it's another file. So in this file, I have inventory items value. So you can see with the SKU number, we have item name, the category, the valuation method, the unique cost. But then we have also all of their stock parameters. So how much you have, how much stock you have when you need to reorder it per SKU. Then you have where is it stocked. Then after that, you have something. So after that, you have something much different is that you have for each supplier, you have a list of SKU. So it's not something where you can just copy and paste under each other because nothing looks the same. The only thing you have in common is the SKU number. So if you will want to make like a list out of that, you will have to spend like 1 to 2 hours to play with VLOOKUPs, with SUMIFs, with like crazy constellation. Instead, we are going to automate this because, again, every month I receive this from the system, and every month I need to go through until I get one file which I can use to make my analysis. So what I'm going to do now, because it's something a bit more elaborated, I am going to use O3, ChatGPT O3, which is a reasoning model, which is really good when it's complex, when it needs to think about all of the steps. And for a lot of people, if you are using Gemini, you have the Pro. So 2.5 Pro is the reasoning model. If you are using Copilot, you can also use, in Copilot, they created two agents that have the reasoning model. You have one, which is the data scientist, which is a good model for reasoning. And the difference here is that it's going to think for 1 minute of all of the steps it needs to answer this question. Basically, a file, I want all the sheets consolidated in one, because I want for each SKU to see all attributes. And I also need to say that, map everything, because I want only one line per SKU. So the thing is, here it's going to explain me what I need to do. It's giving me the code, and we are going to see if the code is good. So the only thing I saw in the code, because I was reading quickly, there is something in the code that I don't like. It says, so I'm going to copy first, and we're going to see that actually this code didn't work. So I try again. And this is what you are going to face all the time, because a lot of people, what they do is they show you something that always works. But I want to show you when it doesn't work, what you do. Because that's actually what you are facing all the time, is when you try the first time, it doesn't work. So, oops, sorry. So let me go back. That was too fast. So I clicked too fast. So press, yes. So we were here. So I copy the code. I'm going to paste the code in, again, the Power Query code area, so the query. And when I paste the code, here you can see that I have a problem. So what I do is I'm going to paste the error message, and then ChatGPT is going to say why it happened. And then I'm going to read, and I saw also that it's going to do something with, it wants basically all of the column to have the name of the sheet, and that I didn't want as well. So I'm going to explain what I want. And then with this code, I'm going to copy the code. I'm going back. I'm going to try again. So we go to the editor. We are going to replace the code. And now when I paste it, I go to home, I close. And now all of these tabs that I had together, I have one file where all of the SKUs are mapped with everything. And I assure you the file where it was before looked like this, like SKU, then here different SKU by supplier. It was really hard to make. But with 2-3 iterations, like in a few minutes, you could have the final file, which now I can do a pivot table and do analysis on it. And again, here I don't need to use AI after. Once I've built it, it is made forever.
So what I'm hearing, Nicolas, is use GPT to instruct you on how to do it. If you receive the error message, put that error back into GPT, the same instructor, to correct itself so that you know how to do with the error, right? Now you've got your process set for the month-on-month process, and you're good from there on in, unless the data set changes.
Exactly. And this is good when you have simple files that are not too heavy. But if you have much heavier file, or if it's something you need to do more often and where more and more people are using, I will not recommend using that. And that's why, like, I know, Kirk, that you have other processes to take care of, like when you have more, I would say, like more people handling data, more people having to digest this data with higher transactions. You also use AI, right?
Definitely. Yeah, actually, let me show you that really quickly here. Obviously, this is the Drivetrain platform. I'm up here in reports, but normally similar to what you were just doing, what we would do in terms of transforming data would actually be in this data section. This is where we connect our various systems, where we might make edits to them. So here, for example, I've got this contract master that I brought in. Maybe there's 100,000 rows, maybe there's 1,000,000 rows. Either way, it doesn't matter too much. What I want to do with this is actually edit the data in a way that makes sense for me. Now, what we've done is we've created the ability to insert prompts into this. So here you can see up here, I've got all this data, but now I want to manipulate it in some way. Now I've pre-built one here that basically says, it's quite complex, create a column, age of customer, in months, by calculating the difference between the contract start date and the contract end date, or today's date, whichever is earlier, right? So now that I've done that, this is kind of like our natural language processing. I'll click the tick. Our AI, which leverages Gemini and then, of course, our own proprietary information as well, will add a column to this data set. It's what we call data enrichment. So now when I come over here, I can see that age of customers over here on the right. I can actually see as well the change that I've made. So there's that age of customer. Here it all is. And I can actually see not only what I wrote, but then what it changed it to, right? I don't need to do anything here to make the data work for me. It actually does it in the background for me, so that all the SQL work that I would have had to have done, right, it's all done automatically. This is the kind of thing we typically see on larger data sets. And something else that I may want to do would be something like this. Just show me the top 5 customers in region Australia. And now when I click the check, once again, this will actually subdue that, that data set and shrink it. And now I can see those top 5 customers super quickly here. So something like this is actually occurring at the first instance of the data showing up in Drivetrain, right? Nothing's been done here. We haven't added dimensions, metrics, models, or reports. This is as good as raw data, but you can see how we can enrich it to just add something to it that doesn't previously exist there. Does that make sense, Nicolas?
Muted.
Oh, I think you.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what here, especially if people like at scale are using it, you have the advantage. And I think that's what is important, is to understand when you need to do something is more like for yourself as an individual because it's serve more yourself, or where it's something where you have more at scale, where you have also more people using it. And that's where as well, like not all the tools, not everything is going to be covered by ChatGPT, and it's important to see what other tools can do as well.
Right, 100%. Back to you though, Nicolas. What do we have up next?
So now that we have the file ready, okay, we have the file ready. We want now to analyze it. And I didn't choose to use like a typical file where it's only sales. I actually went into something more complicated, which is inventory. So you could see the inventory file that we created together. Now that it's created, how are we going to use it? So I'm going to show you first the wrong way. So imagine I have now the file which is finished. Okay, you remember like we consolidated everything. We have now for each SKU, we have all of the information. We know from which supplier they are. I'm just going to upload the file. And I have ChatGPT Teams. So for me, there is no problem of security, but you need to make sure that you have a professional license and you're authorized to do that. And also, I am using only ChatGPT 4.0, so the most simple model. Plus, I am only prompting by saying, analyze this file. So this is fast, like I didn't shorten it. That's the big advantage of 4.0. It's always really fast. So you get an answer really quick. But a bit like somebody working for you and answering in 5 minutes, the quality of the answer will not be the same as somebody answering in 1 hour. So you get basically kind of just a pivot table, which you could have done yourself in 2 clicks in Excel as well. And that's where like, it's not really insightful. You are not really like learning much. Like you have a cool graph, yes, but you cannot go to your CFO and find ways to improve your cash based on your inventory just with this. So now let's do the right way. And the right way, I want everybody to screenshot that. The first thing is you are going to use a reasoning model, because everything that has to deal with financial analysis, you want the model to think hard about it. And then imagine you don't have actually ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini in front of you. Imagine you have a new intern. Which instructions are you going to give the intern to do the analysis? Well, these instructions, me as an ex-auditor, what I always start with is to check if the data is consistent. Because if you have done audit like me, you never start auditing a file that doesn't link to the financial statements. If it doesn't reconcile, you just go back to the client and say, give me the file that reconcile. I don't want to work on something that doesn't reconcile because I'm going to lose time. So that's the first step. Then after, look at what type of analysis you can do, and then do the analysis, but also show the calculations. And then show the visuals for each analysis, because without visual, having only data for us as humans is really hard to understand the story. And finally, create commentaries. So we're going to use this model, these guidelines, and now with the same data, see already how I improved the prompting using all of these steps. Also giving context, because I'm explaining what is our goal is to optimize the cash and profit. And so those are all of the steps. And once that I have also explained what type of analysis I want, like this is really cool for everybody. There are these 4 types of analysis. I made an infographic on this. When you push that in front of the AI, it will give you better analysis. And then once we have done all of the steps, we will change the model. So up left, you can see that. So first I'm uploading the data here. And then up left, I'm choosing the O3 model, the reasoning model. Now I am entering into the analysis, and it's going to think about all of the steps to perform. So you see, and it explains you what is happening. So I'm not going to show you all of the steps because it takes like a few minutes until it's done. And ChatGPT is using Python to do all of this. And you can see all of the steps, you can check, you can see if you can audit it as well. And then after 3 minutes and a half, we have an analysis. And remember what we did before. Now what we have is not only one graph, we have actually like a ABC classification. We have also the top 20 value items. We also have the distribution of the inventory age. Plus we have an analysis of the lead time with stock. We have the value of inventory over the next 90 days, and also which are the most important items, the near expiry items, and some actions. But the best is what comes after, because after now we go back to everything I asked, so all of the steps. First, data quality check. It shows me if there is any problem, like was there any duplicate SKUs, was there any data missing? It didn't find anything, but it could have found something and would have been already for us a good indication that the data is wrong. Then after, all of the analytics that will be performed. And like this, you force, and then after all of the key findings and how it was calculated. And you can see like the level of analysis now is much deeper than before. And basically the conclusion is here, we have 250 million that is blocked in stock, which we should free. Especially, and we have a problem here with obsolescence. We have a risk of obsolescence. And now we have the comments. And these comments, even if you try to write that by yourself, like you will have a hard time be as precise and have the right vocabulary to it. So, of course, now I cannot go to you, Kirk, and just do a copy and paste and send you that by email. I need to understand what happened. But if I've never done this type of analysis before, I'm much more equipped to do it. And now I will also make some iterations to understand how ChatGPT did it. But do you see like how we go from having like just like a student type of analysis to having an experienced type of analysis, which I'm going to be the owner of that. So I need to review it. I need to understand it. Probably I will need to document it in my own Excel file, but I can get ChatGPT to help me do that. And this is where we all need to go. And just by prompting and using the right model, you can do much more.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal stuff, Nicolas. And I've got a couple questions in here coming for you. First one around data privacy. Obviously you're putting your company's data up into GPT. What's your typical response to that when it comes to like, I'm concerned with sharing my company's data? What is there one way I can sensitize it more than another?
So number one, I've worked with a lot of companies where now they give licenses to their employees and they are comfortable that the employees use company data inside. The problem of data confidentiality and security is not new. 15 years ago, when cloud arrived and finance had to put their data in the cloud, everybody was also panicking and doubting about it. Now, I don't hear anybody doubting why they are sending an email with the most confidential data information, and the email goes in the cloud, is saved in the cloud somewhere, is read by somebody else in an email, and nobody is asking themselves if there is a problem of data confidentiality. An example, if you work with Microsoft, you are sending an Excel file which is saved on OneDrive. You are sending it by Outlook to your boss or to a colleague. And there is a lot of confidential data inside. When you use this data inside Copilot, Copilot is not somewhere else. Copilot, if you have the same license, if you have a business license, it uses exactly the same security level than your Excel, your Outlook. That's what Microsoft said. M365, their security environment is the same for Copilot or all of the Office tools. So if your company is already okay to use Excel and Outlook in the cloud, they already have decided that it's okay to let Microsoft process that. And what is important is also, is Microsoft training on this data? And what they say is, no, we don't train on your data. Same when OpenAI, when you have a ChatGPT team or ChatGPT enterprise, they say they don't train on your data. Same for Gemini when you have a business one. So this is where my recommendation, take at least like a professional one. So not the pro, like when I say professional, I say like business license. So for Microsoft, and it's really hard to, because they have all of these crazy names, but Microsoft is Microsoft 365 business. For Google, you take the workspace. So each time you pay for workspace for business license, you get Gemini with it, and it's the same security environment. And for ChatGPT, is either team or enterprise. And I'm not paid by this company. I hope they will pay me for this, but
no, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that. I got one more here, and then maybe we can jump on and keep going. But here it says, do you manage a list of prompts in a library? How do you make this process repeatable so it can be shared with other members? I find limitation with ChatGPT where you cannot collaborate on a project. So I guess speaking to collaboration, right? Like you said, you put in a prompt, it gives you 6 different answers 6 different times. I want to work with people. Is there a way to think about collaboration with these various different tools?
well, that's where a function like custom GPT is one of the best, because you can share a GPT and where you put your prompt inside, so your custom instructions, and then you will control that the behavior is not always identical, but really similar. So for example, I could have this prompt pasted in a custom GPT, and where each time somebody uses this GPT, it always already have this prompt and will be a much better financial analytical GPT rather than starting from scratch.
Beautiful. And I see one more here from Gayatri. This is back to the sensitivity. Is there a way to allow colleagues to analyze sensitive data like salary without giving them access to it? How do we do this? Perhaps even I can take this one. We have a pretty good solution for this in Drivetrain. If I jump back to that tenant I was showing you before, headcount, salary, all that falls into the realm of really sensitive data. What I want to be able to do is have a page like this that shows all departments, all countries. But then if I come to like USA, it changes in real time. And so now I'm only seeing the data that I need to see. Can we set this up in such a way that when the head of the USA logs in, they only see this page, but when the head of FP&A or the global leader, they see everything? And the answer is yes. Now, obviously, this is at a high level. But if I go a bit more granular to where I pulled all this information from, which is usually like the employee roster, can I hide this data and at the actual line item or column item level? And the answer is yes, right? Here's an example of that, this pay rate amount. You can see I've included what's called data masking. Here, if I come to this, I can mask the data. The way I've set this up is only Praveen is able to see this, and he's able to see the summary, that would be the summary of pay, by department, right? And so the way you might do this, if we scroll over to some more detailed data, perhaps we've got, like a bonus amount here. Maybe I'm like the owner of Drivetrain's tool for my particular company, and I want to mask this data. I only want these people to see it. And I'm going to allow them to see summaries at the department level as well. Now, when I click add, since I'm not in that list, Kirk Kapilov's not, right? I won't be able to see that. But if for whatever reason I decided to add myself and give myself slightly more permissions, I would be able to see that in the future because I've added myself to it, right? So this is how we think about data masking. You should be able to do it at a high level, like at a report, or at a much deeper level, which is more something like this with the line item level. So Gayatri, I hope that answers your question. Without further ado, maybe I'll hand back to you, Nicola, once more, because I know I want to be wary of time here. But I think when we think about this, like these nightmares to doing the protecting ranges and everything, we want to delve a little bit more into the financial analysis side of things. What do you have for us there?
Yeah, so I want to show you something which is quite new, and I'm going to show it to you in two tools. We said it will be about ChatGPT, but I will show you where I discovered it first, and then I will show you how to do it in ChatGPT. Because a lot of people are asking me, okay, now that I've done the analysis, how do I put that in PowerPoint? Unfortunately, putting it in PowerPoint right now is not maybe the best because PowerPoint is not the best tool that is really easily codable by another tool. You have a lot of other languages that are better. And let me show you what I mean with this. So we're not going to create a PowerPoint, but we are going to create something that is and looks better than a PowerPoint. So if I want to do reporting with AI, imagine now I am in the Google environment. I have this Google Sheet. And if I am in the Google environment and I work in Google Sheet, Google Drive, Gmail, I should also go to Gemini because I have a professional license. You can see upright. And I can also use Gemini to help me do analysis. So again, I have the same structure that you all know now. And once that I have done these steps, I've also activated the Pro. It does, again, all the thinking. And that's where you see that the models are now always almost the same. And that's where what is more important is where is your data, where is your work, and not really which model is the best. And you can see that Gemini, once it's ready, is going to do all of the steps that we asked. So we have the first data integrity and validation. Then I'll also ask to summarize the data to make sure that we have the same data. And what is also cool here, you could, from this table, you can click and make that another table. So that's like what is cool when you are working in an AI, which is already in the environment where you work, is you stay in the same environment. So here I could stay in the Google Sheet environment and I don't have to go somewhere else. Then, so I can come back if I am happy and I've checked here that the data consistency is okay. And then we can see all of what has been done. So the strategy, and when we have the strategy for analysis, after we'll have all of the analysis. So especially with here, the EBIT bridge, which explain basically how our EBIT changed compared to budget. So you have all of these explanations, but let me go to the next slide. Once we have these explanations, we want to go to reporting. And we could start with just commentaries. So here I'm asking, can you create the commentaries for the CFO? Which is well written. It takes back all of the figures we had before. And you always need to check again, but really like with these models, the number of mistakes is really decreasing a lot because it does a lot of a check by itself. And now I activated something in the bottom, which is called canvas. And that's really where everybody needs to pay attention. On the right side now, the commentaries, it's turned into an editable document. But not only. Upright, I have a new button, a blue button, and I can create from this something visual. And for those that follow me on LinkedIn, you know that I love to create visualizations and not only text. And you know, like instead of having these long emails, these long commentaries, we are going to get something visual. And here, how do we get something visual? Well, it's creating HTML code. And for those who have done websites when it was like 10, 15 years ago, HTML code is great to do web pages and to do something visual. So now with the code, I'm going to take this code. I'm going to copy the code. So I'm going to copy that, and I will play the code in somewhere where I can see what is the result of this code. And look what I get, Kirk.
Absolutely phenomenal.
So isn't that a bit better than a PowerPoint slide?
I think so. Yeah, I'd take a full website over a PowerPoint slide any day.
And you could, HTML, you can put that into an email. You can here linked it with data, with a table of data, so that it's live, and you could give the link to people. So not only we did better in PowerPoint, but we have also spent less time, and we have really here our financial analysis that is turned into data analysis and into visual analysis. Now, I showed you something with Gemini, but we said we are going to talk about ChatGPT. Can I do that with ChatGPT? Well, let's go back to here our commentaries that we had before. And I just ask, can you create an executive summary, a super modern slide summarizing the cash release plan? Use HTML for this. And then I clicked here, write or code, and it's going to activate the canvas. When I do that, it creates this canvas. So I have all of the HTML code. And now you have also a preview button, and look what I got. From the analysis we created before, now I have a one-pager, which I can go into a meeting or like copy and paste in an email. And now I can go and talk to my boss. And my boss will think that I took like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to create the slide when it actually took me just 30 seconds.
And you don't tell him about the functionality so that he thinks you did it all yourself. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, Nicolas. I've got even more questions coming in here. I can see the chat is exploding. People want the recording so they can learn from all this amazing stuff you're sharing. Here, and this kind of goes to a couple things you've shown. I think you're going to talk a little bit about this later, but it says from Steve Schultz, with the explosion of models and the rapid pace of the big ones spinning out updated versions, how do you pick? Which model do you pick? How do you know when? I think you're going to talk about that a bit later, so we can put it off. But if you have any preliminary thoughts, I'm sure we'd love to hear them.
Well, you could see how if I was in ChatGPT or Gemini, you have both the choice to get the normal model or the reasoning one. And also this functionality of creating code and then getting the output of a code as a preview with Canvas was also there. So all of these models, and what we see is actually the chatbot, so the LLM chatbot, all of them, like, they get really close. And each time one is releasing a new functionality, all of the others, they catch up. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose based on the performance, because they are all going to catch up. What is important is, where are you going to use this AI? And if you are a Google user with your emails in Google, with your calendar in Google, with all of your files in Google Drive, why are you going to use Copilot? Because you have nothing in Copilot, you have nothing in Microsoft, so why would you get another license? Why would you have to create complex connectors or do like copy and paste and upload files? No, it doesn't make sense. What makes sense, anyway, you get the Gemini license already with your Google Workplace license, so it's already there. And secondly, you can always call your document to, like, go in Gemini. If you have a workspace license, you can ask, what is the last emails you received? It will show it to you. What is your day, like the calendar you had? And it will show it, all of that to you. So choose the AI where you have your work, if it's for work. My conviction is, because all companies mostly have Microsoft, is going to win the corporate war. the individuals, the consumer market, OpenAI is going to win that because they are really fast at shipping new functionalities. They have the best interface. We all have that on our phone already. So they are already in advance, and they are going to win the consumer war. And then you will have Google that is there as like the third alternative for companies that use Google Office, Google Drive, or for individuals if you are already using YouTube a lot, Chrome a lot, Google Search a lot, Gmail a lot. You will use their AI more and more until you don't need ChatGPT anymore, because if AI knows everything from you thanks to your emails, your Google search, your YouTube search, then it's such an advantage compared to ChatGPT that doesn't know much about you, that you are going to prefer the Google AI. But that's my prediction. Let's see how it's going to happen in the next years.
No, that's interesting. Okay, so as a general rule, I'm hearing, first of all, keep it in the family. If you're a Google shop, use Gemini, right? If you're Microsoft, use Copilot. But then don't worry too much about the model types because they're all going to catch up to each other eventually. That's kind of your prediction. Amazing. Well, let me take over screen share really quickly because I, in turn, want to show you some cool stuff that we've been doing over here, Nicola. I think you'll like it. We were talking about report creation. How do we go about actually creating these big, beautiful things where we can actually drill into the data and see the underlying transactions for each of them, maybe follow the link back to them. All this sort of stuff can be time consuming to create. Well, we've done a pretty good job at Drivetrain to make it easy to create. Drive AI is here to make it just that much easier. And so once again, I've created this pretty lengthy prompt of something that I want it to make. Create a headcount dashboard with a few KPI charts and a few line charts showing the trends at the org level. Can you add an attrition and new hires KPI charts too? Okay. Now, while this is running, I'm actually going to go to the background and show you a separate agent. This one will take about a minute to create. And so while you're there, I'm going to show you a different AI agent we have, this time at the P&L level. And this AI agent specializes in BVA. Here you can see I've got a couple actuals. I've got my plan, the variance by dollar and percentage between the two. Of course, I'll be able to drill into each of these and be able to explain why there's a variance. Maybe if I forget what these expenses were, I do want to show that underlying data as well. But it's a lot easier when we leverage Drive AI to just help us drive that commentary. Now, I can still do my investigation, right? And while I'm doing this, I can build this out. I can take a look at what's happening here. But AI is actually going to create that commentary for me and go as deep as it thinks makes sense based on the data provided. Now, as you're going to see here, I can change what I want it to read, right? Right now, I can see that it's got some language, and maybe I'm happy with this language, but maybe I want it to rewrite it in a board level language. Maybe I want to refine it a little bit further. Now, keeping my first page intact, it's going to write a second page. Either way, I'm going to choose the one I like and add it to the report later, but here it's going to give me some board level language. So I'm going to go ahead, take a look at that, and it'll do its thing. Perhaps even I want to add like another level of granularity to it, add some emojis and all these sorts of things. We can do that here too. All you might say is shorten the summary for the emojis and add emojis for large variances. So now I'm adding multiple pages. I can mix and match these. I can choose one or the other. Either way, at the end of this, I'm going to want to show this on my P&L in my report. And just like you said before, maybe you don't tell your boss about this functionality, so they think you've done it all yourself. Now, once I add it to the report, this shows up down the bottom. I'm going to bring this up here a little bit. Let's put it up next to my P&L. And now I've got a little bit of BVA commentary right here. I can beautify this. A lot of different editing tactics that we have there. All right, so this piece, quite fun. When we jump back to my other one, let's see if we can actually see that yet. Here, if I jump back to my other AI agent, here we go. I can see it's created. A couple of the charts are still loading right here. There we go. They're popping up one by one. This was created 100% via our Drive AI app, right? And you can see that slowly one by one being put together. Now, once this is here, it's as good as a report I've created. So of course I can come into the editor. I can start adding my other chart elements, waterfall charts, combo charts, funnels, lists, headings, whatever makes sense for me. But either way, this is a starting point where I didn't have to create all of this. I just got to prompt it and it created it for me. And maybe now all of the drill downs are available. If I want to see closing headcount by country, by region, whatever makes sense for me to show, I'm able to actually do that and drill into those things. So that's our side of the shop there, Nicola. Interested if you have any feedback, comments. I know the world of like Excel, do I choose a tool? When do I transfer? All those questions are up in the air. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think what is important is if the users, the team, if you could make them that they are sticked into one tool, you're going also to save, like this changing of, like context switching problem. So that's the point with Excel is if always you have to go back to Excel to change, load Excel files, like you lose a lot of time and then you're you're just like losing your concentration. If here you don't need to go somewhere else to make your analysis and see your data at the same time and create your report and everybody knows where it's saved. I think like that's the advantage I feel generally in FP&A tools is when you have multiple users because you will get really like the team have like one single source of truth. They have one single way of doing also the reports. There is consistency as well. Like it's not like John has a report that doesn't look the same than Marie. No, like we all recognize this, so we don't have to process the report anymore. We just focus on the information inside the report. And
Right.
and there, if on top AI can help you generate the commentaries with, I'm curious actually, like how do you make that the commentaries are well written? Like what is the secret sauce?
Well, yeah, that is the secret sauce, isn't it? That's the drivetrain piece. I think one thing I'd say is if you want a demo, Nicola, and anybody else, if you guys would like a demo, definitely reach out to us. We are happy to give one to anybody that's interested in seeing it. Getting more detailed questions there. In this case, our Drive AI is leveraged by both Gemini, because we are Google Shop, our founders ex-Google. So of course, Google, they
Ah,
have
okay.
a propensity for it. But then also a little bit of our own IP that we've developed to sort of centralize and isolate for things we're SOC 2 Type 2, SOC 1 Type 2 certified, ISO 27001, GDPR. So all the data security piece that people have been asking about, very much intact. We're not worried about, you shouldn't be worried about sharing your data with anybody else. It's isolated to your company and your tenant. But it is quite fun when you get to ask questions of your own model and it creates something for you, something that you might not have been able to create for yourself, similar to what you were doing with GPT there on the analysis side.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing is what I always say is me, I can craft the best tool and get the output, but I don't expect every finance individual to know exactly how to craft every prompt. And that's why, like, if you have a specific tool where all of your information is inside, and the commentaries are not going to talk about a story about, I don't know, like create like a book. They are already, they know it's focused for to write commentaries. Normally, like your prompt behind is much better than if somebody will try to do that alone.
Definitely, no doubt about it. Maybe this brings us to our last poll question, second and last. First question is surrounding a demo of Drivetrain's capabilities. I mentioned that. We're happy to give you one. Just respond there if you'd like to learn more. And then also, secondly, did you find this webinar a good use of your time? Obviously, we want to make these as valuable as possible. I think we've learned a lot from Nicolas today when it comes to analyzing that data. But any thoughts you could share on that, we'd actually really love to hear them, and we'll keep analyzing that. So I know we're coming towards the end of time here. I've got a lot of questions flowing in, and I would absolutely love to ask you those, Nicola. Any other summing up thoughts or comments you'd have
There is
before we jump into these?
Christopher is asking what is the difference between ChatGPT and Drivetrain? Like, what is the my understanding is like it's like having a Swiss knife tools where you can do a lot of things, but when there is a big tree, you need like a big saw. So like if everybody in a team of FP&A is going to use ChatGPT on its own on its way, you will lack of I think of leverage, and everybody will have to build their knowledge. While if you have a team and you have only one tool where all of your data is inside, generally you get more value from it because you don't have to figure out how to use it. It's already done for you. But you know your tool better than me. So
I would say that's a great analysis of it. The metaphor of Swiss Army knife to chainsaw would do it justice. ChatGPT, in short, is an AI tool. Drivetrain is an AI native FP&A strategic finance tool. So essentially, what we've done is combined several other tools that you may use in the FP&A process into one. Data. This would be typical of your data warehouse. We want to be able to centralize our historical data and all the data therewith, sync it with some sort of cadence. Maybe we want to sync it ourselves. Maybe we want automatic syncs. Either way, we want to house that historical data no matter what tools we've got. We connect with over 800 tools, everything from like spreadsheets to the most complex, SAPs of the world, currency exchange providers, multi-entity, multi-currency, whatever you got, you can bring it in here. Then we want to model on it. Now, metrics and dimensions are how we get to models. These are sort of the line items and then how we break down the line items. But can I build my three-statement model in here? Can I build my headcount model? Can I manage operations, right? And this is where that piece comes into play. Where are my actuals? And then where are my forecasts, right? How do I bring all of this in to make the most comprehensive reporting that I possibly can from a modeling side? And then we've taken a look pretty extensively at the reports today. Can I, using a sort of as a BI tool, use Drivetrain to analyze these reports? So one thing I typically see are people scheduling the sending of these reports, right? Maybe I want to send this with a couple of my colleagues in the HR department. Here's the subject, here's the message, best Kirk. I can attach that as a PDF or embed it as an image, in which case it would show up with the actual text. And then maybe I want to send this weekly on Monday and Thursday. And specifically, I want this to send out at 7 a.m. because I know our systems sync at 6 a.m. and it'll be ready to send out. So now on that Monday, Thursday at 7 a.m., people are going to get this in their inbox. And that's really nice because now this piece is completely automated. They don't need to think about it too much. And it's just another thing off my plate. So I would say that's a very shallow summary of all of the different things we can do: version, scenario, what if analysis, all of the type of operational reports, headcount pieces, data mapping. The list goes on, but we've isolated for the features that we think best serve the FP&A community. So that's my short spiel, Nicolas. If anybody wants to learn more, they can reach out to me. Back to more questions for you, though, sir. Let's see here. Can we very clearly start from this is another drivetrain one, from a TB and drivetrain and get a clear model extrapolated in cash and P&L for the next 5 years? Yes, we also have templates, depending on which tools you're using, right? You will have out-of-the-box templates within day one, right? You press launch template, and that will be within the first 3 hours, okay? So, okay, while we know the cost of subscription is different in different solutions, $20 a month, 15, 30, there's limitations of tokens. How many more tokens will be used for a typical one FP&A manager, and what will be the additional cost? So when we're thinking about those different models and the cost structure, from my understanding, it's a fixed cost, Nicola, right?
So actually right now, it's a big debate. They started to limit the number of queries. So it's not tokens. It's like how many times can you do a deep research? How many times can you use O3 Pro? I think for now, if you have first, like it's only ChatGPT that did that. The others, they didn't really limit that for now. Claude a bit, but so just like if you know you are hitting the limits a lot of time, check if you can get the license above. But for me, I think like I'm using it every day. I think I never hit the limit. So don't worry about that now. And I think also a lot of the work we do should not always go through a ChatGPT or a Copilot or a Gemini box. Because like I showed you at the beginning, you should use it to build things, but not only to go and get an output for what you need. So because you cannot have like your monthly analysis that just sits in a chat. You can optimize the way you are doing this analysis thanks to AI, but you should document it, you should understand it, you should also make sure that somebody else in your team can audit it, or even like an auditor. So that's why you cannot leave your analysis just in a chat box, and I will not recommend that. But you can make so much, like, see like the HTML code that we built, once it's built, well, you just save it in HTML page, which you can link somewhere else, and then it sits either on a web page that you have built or on your computer, but it's not in AI anymore, and you don't need AI to change it. You can go inside and, the minus 1.7%, you can go inside the code and find it and change it by 2.5%. And you don't need AI for this. So this is the limit right now. I think they are ready for people that are abusing from it. Or like this weekend, I was trying video with Google. And then, of course, at one point, like I got a message that I'm using a bit too much the system. But yeah, that's I never heard people really having problem with that.
Okay, makes sense. I have another one here from Hannah. What hurdles do you encounter most often when helping finance teams rapidly modernize and incorporate AI into their workflows?
So the first one is, do you have a professional license? Because if you don't, then you are not sure which one you can use. Like, because like everybody's asking, oh, which model should I use or which LLM chatbot? So everybody is stopping there. It's like if if together, let's say we want to go and walk go 1 kilometer to a city, and then we have like a bike in front of us, we can walk. We have like a scooter, we have a car, and we just spend like 5 hours thinking about which one is the best way to go to do this 1 kilometer when we could have just walked there. So a lot of people are stuck there at this first step, and that's where managers, they need to change that and give a license to their team and say, okay, now you work with Copilot because we are in Microsoft, you work with Gemini because we are in Google, or you use ChatGPT or Claude because we are small and we are flexible. And managers need to take these decisions like this. It's behind everybody and they can focus and work with a professional tool. Then the second step is, how can they use it for finance? And for this, either you are lucky, you have somebody internally that is really good and understood already does. Maybe they watch my videos and they went through these webinars. And also, not only they are good at it, but they also are good at teaching it, which is not the same. Or what you can do is you can do a training. That's what I do. Like I train people, I give workshop. And then you start with this. You start with a training to teach how to use it for finance. And then the third step is you don't stay there. You get the momentum to have a sharing platform between the team, either group chats, either lunch and learn, either like mini hackathon, where you continue to learn and progress together. And once you have done that, like after 1 month or 2 months, then people will get so hungry about how they use AI more, they will continue to learn more, that by itself it will move, and you'll have like custom GPTs or custom agents. You'll have people starting to automate with scripts, and then you'll have like so much more level of using AI that you will be also ready when the new functions are coming. And that's basically where you want to be in 3 months.
That's phenomenal. No, that's a great answer. I got one more here, and then we might have to wrap up. We'll get your final words, but this is a good one to sum up on what will be the role of FP&A in the coming times since you can do so much automation with tools.
Well, there will be one thing is the business also knows that we get all of these tools. So if today we take 3 days to answer to an email, they will not accept that anymore. So we'll need to have the answer straight away. We'll also need to build a tool to let the business get access to this. Maybe agents, maybe reporting. So we'll need to really build the technology that serve the business. So there will be the technological part where you need to be really like first user and have this AI first approach. But then you will have more time, because if you are not like handling Excel all the time and then do manual work, you'll have more time to do more human stuff. And that's where AI cannot go, like, and cannot do. AI cannot just like knock on the door of the sales, the head of sales, who just arrived from a meeting with a client, who just know that, yeah, like the scenario that you just built and that is in your CRM and for which you have a meeting tomorrow where you present, is dead because it just went into a client meeting and then the meeting didn't go well. So this is human, and you need to use your human much more than before, because people that will not use it, then they will not bring value anymore. So have both skills. It's not like one or the other, is really together.
Sounds phenomenal. Be a very personable geek then, in other words. Geek out, but also be a personable. No, that's great. I got a couple questions in here, Nicola, in reference to reaching out to you. What's the best way to reach out to you to arrange workshops, contact in general? Where should people go?
Yeah, I will put my email address for workshops. And then people can also check my YouTube channel to see how I teach. And if they don't follow me on LinkedIn, I have also my LinkedIn there.
Phenomenal. And so, I mean, we've had the best time here looking at all your GPT wizardry. And so I'm looking forward to chatting again next time as GPT and the models continuously update. But any final words you'd leave us with, Nicolas?
So really important, all of you that were there, like more than 200, like up to 300 people, you understood the importance of using AI for finance. But there are a lot of people that didn't come. And maybe some of you are managers. So you could have also an influence. So if you understood that, don't keep it for yourself. Make sure you share it. Make sure you make other move because we need to move together as a finance team. And you have this responsibility, all of you as well. So I count on all of you to do that.
Well, Nicola, that's good words to end on. Thanks everybody for joining. We look forward to having you join next time. We throw a lot of these guys and a lot of these various different demos and various different interviews with stakeholders. And so we'd love to have you on the next one. Reach out to Nicola, reach out to us at Drivetrain, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Nicola.
Bye.